煉獄さん。素晴らしい闘気だ。それほどの傷を負いながらその気迫、その精神力。やはりお前は鬼になる。
霹靂一戦、禰豆子ちゃんは俺が守る。
大暴れしてやるや、この俺様伊之助様が。
見えた、月の糸。燃やせ燃やせ燃やせ、心を燃やせ。
素晴らしい闘気だ。
破壊術。
これは俺の責務を全うする。面が完成した。勝ちに行くぞ。
火の神神楽。
飛びつがな。
名は
牛太郎だからな。
Alright, hopefully you guys did enjoy that trailer. That was months of work all put into a 3-minute video. However, that is only a tease of what's to come. There's still all the character skills, all the characters in detail, ultimate relics. There's so much to go through, so we're going to jump straight into it because the video likely will be over an hour long. However, on the timeline right now, you can jump cut to whatever part you want to. If you want to go straight away to Tanjiro, to Nezuko, you can just jump over to that part. Make sure to go towards the end of the character segment to see the full skill sheet, because I will be going through the character skills individually, so if you want to see the full overview, then do skip to the end of that. But without further ado, boys, let's jump into the video. Once again, it's going to be a very long one, so no rushing to finish it. Once again, you can just see all the stuff online. I have it posted on Reddit, on the forums, and my Twitter, so if you don't watch the full video, then you could easily skip off it. But if you want to, then I have made the video a lot more enjoyable by making it basically look as real as possible, so you see what I get to when I get later on. But let's start off with the actual loading screen. So this is what you're going to get when you log into the game. I did reveal it in my video a few days ago, however, this time it is now animated. However, the Tanjiro and Osamu was created by Ross. I actually paid him to commission these characters actually December last year, so it has been almost a year since he's made this and he hasn't seen anything from it. So if he's watching this, shout out to you, bro. You killed it with these actual renders. I knew this time around, since I've made I think like 5 wallpapers now, I had to get something original and something that you lot haven't seen to make this actual wallpaper stand out a lot more. But yeah, boys, that's it for the wallpaper. Let's load it into the actual game so you can see all the characters. Alright, so we're now in a game, and as you can see in the top left, we do have the obviously collaboration, and we click the actual icon, you can see a little bit of an overview of the actual event. So we'll go through the final boss and obviously Akaza later on, and also we go back, we can go towards the banners, and you can now see it on screen. These are the banners. We'll start with the first one because, like you would imagine, if we were to get this collaboration, it would be a part 1 first, and of course the 4 characters would be Nezuko, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu being the first 4 characters. And you could imagine 1 or 2 years later, if the game does last that long, we can then get to part 2, which would be obviously for Rengoku and also Akaza. The big thing about these 2 characters is that they both are light and dark, both of them representing the theme quite well, and I do believe in the future, I think some collabs, especially for part 2s, we could get a light and dark. Like, I do believe Echidna could have been a dark character. And if Netmarble ever decides to do a part 3 collaboration, we would obviously get Gyutaro and also Tengen. Once again, Gyutaro's actual model looks so good. I'm so glad I waited. I may do behind the scenes later on, but he didn't have a model literally until last month, and he looked terrible in game, so I'm very, very glad I waited for him. But because we can, and the power of editing, we can actually do a summon on Tanjiro's balance. Let's do it. Alright, so we have gotten one SSR, so let's jump over to the actual animation. Yes, you saw from the trailer, but I have made an actual summon animation for Tanjiro. This literally took 3 weeks to make. I may do a video in the behind the scenes if I decide to make one in the future, but this literally had to go frame by frame, cropping them out, and this literally took 3 weeks to make. Every single day for 3 weeks, I was going frame by frame, cropping them out, and it took a very, very long time. So that's why I only really done one for Tanjiro, just to get it out there and to show you lot what it would look like. And honestly, I'm really happy how it came out. It looks so real, man. It's actually kind of sick. Alright, so on screen now, I'm actually going to cycle through all of the actual characters' artworks and what I've done for the characters, because that's obviously a big part of the video, but later on when you do see them, they're going to be kind of small, and you can't see them in full HD. So right now, this is obviously Zenitsu's ones. He does have a stance skill. We'll go through the skills later on, but you can kind of see the artwork right now as well. Then we have, obviously, Inosuke. His ones actually do look pretty good. I actually really like how he turned out here. Then we have Nezuko's. Nezuko being a bit of a different one because she is transforming, so you can see right now she does transform. If you pay attention, you can tell the skills look identical, but she does change in terms of like how she looks in the card arts. Once again, teasing to what's to come. Then we have Tanjiro. Tanjiro starting off in his water breathing form, and he then can evolve into Hino Kamikagawa, and he obviously will get new card effects as well. Then going over, we have over Akaza. Akaza, to be fair, has really good with the two. I really like how these turned out. Then we have Rengoku. Rengoku probably be my favorite almost out of all of them. I don't know, I really like how his actual shield turned out here. And then going over to Tengen. Tengen's first skill being one of my favorites as well. I really like how that one turned out. For a little fun fact, it looks AoE, but it's single target, making a little reference towards almost the Zeldris. And then going over to the final character, we do have Gyutaro. And the big thing about him, as you can see by his ultimate, it does feature Daki. So a little teaser what's to come. So now you've seen all the characters. Now let's go over to our box to showcase all the characters. Once again, you can see all of them. There are 8 characters, 2 of them being Transformers. So we're going to be here for a very, very long time. Once again, you can easily skip through the video and go to what part you want to. But if you want to sit down and watch all of it, then I appreciate that. So let's go through the first character, which is going to be Zenitsu. We're going to go in order of release when he was shown in the trailer. So Zenitsu, Inosuke, Nezuko, Tanjiro, Akaza, Rengoku, Tengen, and then also Gyutaro. A little fun fact about this right now, but I've been staring at this screen and making this video for so long now. To me, genuinely, the characters are actually real. I actually unironically searched up Nezuko and Tengen in the actual game, thinking they were real because I've worked it for so long now. To me, these characters actually are real. So let's just jump over to Zenitsu to showcase how the character will play in game, and you kind of get understanding of why this video took so long and also what's going on here. Alright, so here is Zenitsu. This character is a red type character, so he could work on the Targeted Balance team as a human, but he's not really going to work on that team because his passive, which we'll start off first because it's probably the most important thing about him, to kind of get where he's going at. But what he does do is increases the hero's attack by 30% for each female ally on the battlefield. Now, you may think this is actually a passive already in game, because it is. Literally, Wario, I believe his name is a character in game who has this passive, but he's a bad character. And I thought, you know what, since it's already in a game, and it actually makes a lot of sense towards Zenitsu. Obviously, Zenitsu being quite a massive simp in the series, at least towards Nezuko. So I thought, you know what, since he's always protecting females, it makes sense that this is going to be his passive. Now, do go into the next skills, realizing that he's probably always going to have an extra 60% attack. If it is 4v4, it will be 90% extra attack if it is all females. The 2 best females I would imagine that will be used of him would probably be Red Diane and also maybe Margaret, depending on who's actually out in the game. Nezuko will probably work in a sub, so we get to her later on. But let's start off with his first skill, which is stance skill. Now, this is probably Zenitsu's bread and butter combo, his main skill that he's going to be using, and that is Thunderclap Flash. Now, the idea behind this one is he's always going to his stance, and it's basically what it is. And obviously, as you can see by the stance skill, it does increase the more you let rank it up, of course. To be fair, at tier 3, it probably one-shot, maybe even a tier 2 or tier 1 would one-shot, depending on what buffs you have on at the time. But what does the stance do? So what it does do is assume the stance that increases damage dealt by 20%, that can go up to 60%, and also does trigger 1 time. If you don't know what this counter is, it's already kind of in the game with Counter Meliodas. Counter Meliodas, the actual SSR one, when he does get attacked, he actually uses a counter. But if he's not attacked, he will keep this skill forever until he's attacked. Obviously, the big gimmick towards the character is that he doesn't taunt, so hypothetically speaking, you could target all of his female allies, kill him, and then kill him afterwards because he won't be doing that much damage because he would have lost his massive attack buff. But there's more to it. Because unless he's attacked, the stance will never go away. And that means if we go towards our second skill, his second skill is Quo. Now, Quo at the moment is only on actual ultimates. And if you don't know what that means, it basically does more damage per stance effect on the character. So I think he has like right 2 or 3 maybe. So he's doing an extra 150 damage on an AoE skill, plus the extra 60% extra attack he gets from ally females. Plus if you're bringing Margaret, you got the damage increase as well. So this character could do quite a lot. So the whole idea is, do you want to attack Zenitsu? If you do, you're going to get massive damage taken. But it does mean his actual AoE skill won't be doing as much damage. But if he gets a tier 3 or tier 2 stance skill, then you're probably too scared to attack him. And at that point, you probably want to bring someone who can counter stances. Or you just don't want to use AoE skills. Maybe use the ultimate. Now, obviously, Zenitsu does sound kind of scary. And for a lot of counter characters, if you see a counter, you probably don't attack and you kind of just rush ultimate. But there's a problem. Because what the character does do for his Holy Relic is actually, when he's in a stance skill effect, he does reduce 60% of the damage taken from ultimates from all allies, including himself, and also recovers 50% of the damage taken. So basically, if you have an ultimate skill, no matter what it is, you're probably not going to kill while the stance effect is up. But do remember, if you do attack in that turn to actually remove the stance effect, once he does attack and probably kill someone, and then Escanor can just do his AoE ultimate and then probably kill the whole team. So once again, some counter play, but if you can't get towards the actual Zenitsu, then you're going to have a massive problem if you're bringing someone like Tank Dian. So there's a lot of counter play to this character. I really do like how I designed him. But going over to his actual ultimate, it's a pretty simple one. It is just single target 7. But if you do get the character 6/6, because why not? Just give him extra spike damage, so he is doing crazy numbers. You can imagine the skill effect doing probably about 2 to 3 million damage. If he's got 60% extra attack, 7, and also spike damage, the character is going to be one-shotting people. So yeah, just to make it easier for you lot, if you want to go back and pause the video, here are all the skills on screen as well, so you can just pause and see everything that he does do at a tier 3 level. Now, I think that's everything for Zenitsu, but let's go over to his actual costumes. Alright, so here are the outfits. So a lot of these outfits are actually official, or these officially posted by the actual Demon Slayer actual accounts on Twitter. So kind of where I've taken them all from the promotional artwork. So his first outfit is a ninja outfit that a lot of the Demon Slayers do actually have later on. You'll see that. And also his second outfit is obviously Zenko. This is his Entertainment District outfit. To be fair, I'd probably rock this one the most if I had him in game. His third outfit is obviously his original one. His fourth outfit is his actual Academy one. Every single Demon Slayer has an Academy outfit. I think it's one of like the one-shots at the end of the manga, and I think some of the end credits for the episodes. But since the character in the actual Demon Slayer game did do one, we're able to get the model and show you a lot what it would actually look like as well. And for his final outfit, he does actually have a wedding day outfit, or like him in a suit that I thought looked kind of drippy, so we threw it onto him. So yeah, boys, that is Zenitsu. Once again, let me know what you think of him. I think he's probably one of the well-designed characters. I mean, honestly, all the characters I'm about to go through now are really well-designed to how they actually are in the series. So let's just jump over to the next character, which is obviously Inosuke. Alright, so for Inosuke, he is a blue human who I guess could work on the mono blue team with Nafumi, but the character is not rolled around defense, so guess you really want to use him. The most important thing about him is, yes, you can take his helmet off when you want to, so no matter what costume you do wear, you will be able to take his helmet off. Now, do let me know though, if you were to actually use Inosuke in game, would you wear him with the helmet or without? I think personally, for thumbnails, I'll probably use him with the actual helmet, but personally, I'd probably rather use him without the helmet, just because it looks sick. I like the green eyes. But if you do remember in the trailer, I specifically showed his actual pierce in PvP. And there's a reason for that. Because let's go through his actual passive first. Because that will give us an understanding of what the character is based off. So basically what the character does do is at the start of every single turn, you're going to apply spatial awareness, which will update every single turn. There's reasons for that. Which will increase his own pierce by half of the total pierce on the battlefield. So basically you're going to get a massive pierce buff from your allies, depending on how much pierce they have. And obviously you're going to get another buff from the enemy's pierce as well, so you're going to get probably around 200% extra pierce, which is actually really high. Which now that I'm saying it out loud, I guess Nafumi's team, especially Nafumi, does actually have pierce rolls, so I guess you are going to get a lot of pierce from the Nafumi team. But that's not it, because the character does remove every single debuff. Now, the idea behind this one was because the character is the king of mountains. He was raised in a harsh area. He's also said multiple times during Season 2 that he's immune to poison and a bunch of debuffs towards the character. I'm pretty sure he's lying, but I want to give him the gimmick of actually making him immune to all debuffs. You can still debuff him during that turn. So once again, weak point characters can still do a lot of damage towards him. It's just at the start of the next turn, he does remove it. But the spatial awareness buff does proc every single turn, so you will constantly keep it updating your pierce value. So if you're getting allies to increase the pierce, like let's say Ramu, after like 2 or 3 turns, Ramu gets a massive pierce buff. He's going to get that pierce as well. Also, as well, on the other team, if you get to Light Elizabeth to increase all the stats by 15% after 2 turns, he will also get some of that pierce. The character is going to constantly keep on buffing up, but that does mean if an ally dies or an enemy dies, he's also going to lose a bunch of pierce too. So the character will progressively get a lot weaker as the game goes on because more people are starting to die. His first skill is Action Imagines, and the idea of why I gave him a massive pierce buff skill effect was because the character's first skill is called First Fang Pierce. The skill is actually called Pierce. I thought, you know what, let's give him a Pierce card because it made sense. So that's kind of why I gave the character so much Pierce. And then also his second skill, because why not give him an AoE Pierce. This character is a full Pierce character. His actual enemy in PvP would definitely be Red Skinny King, which will just cuck him completely because he would just remove so much Pierce towards the character. And for his actual ultimate, he does have a single target cleave. I think at the moment, there's no character in the game that has a single target cleave ultimate, so I'm not too sure what the multiplier would be, but this is 750. I think it's kind of high enough. I think it'll probably one-shot either way. So the reason why I made this cleave was just because, one, it's single target. I wanted to give him a good single target ultimate, but also because it is based off Palasite Bite, which is when he does go back and forth against Daki, so it is, kind of like him cleaving at the enemy. It makes a lot of sense, I think so. Now, obviously, Pierce is a massive part of the character, and since he does get a massive Pierce buff for his allies, that would mean if you kill his allies, he's going to lose a lot of Pierce, but that's where his relic comes into play. His relic is the exact same as Purity Barn in a way, so what he does do if an ally does die, since he's going to lose a massive Pierce buff, he is going to get an extra 60% extra Pierce, which, by the way, some characters in the game don't even have 60% Pierce, so an ally dying might give you more pierce than they were actually alive. Obviously, we can't test it, but you can imagine if the Gowers in the sub slot and everyone dies and you get a tier 3 AoE pierce card, it might do a lot of damage. But since the character isn't like Barn and he's not really increasing his actual max HP or any of his stats apart from Pierce, the character might die a bit too quick. So what I did was, if the character does die, he would give a random ally on the team all of his current Pierce for 2 turns as an actual buff that can be removed, just saying. So you can imagine if you are bringing someone like Rimuru, who's going to give a massive Pierce buff towards, obviously, Inosuke, because he's got like, the highest Pierce in the game. If Inosuke does actually end up dying first, and Rimuru gets that Pierce buff by an extra 300%, 200%, whatever it may be, Rimuru is going to be a nasty single target damage dealer. So even if he does that, he can still buff someone up. But it is all RNG, so it could go into your Gopher or your Buffer, which would be an absolute rip for the character. But that's kind of all RNG. Alright, so that is all for Inosuke. Once again, on screen is the character skill sheet, so you can see all the tier 3 skills, you can see all the character skills and pause it and go back to this part of the video if you want to. Honestly, really like how they designed this character. I feel like this character could be quite broken, but once again, he's easy counterable depending on what characters you do bring. And although I didn't plan it to be, he actually probably would work very well on the actual Nafumi team. I actually made this character before Nafumi even came out, so that's kind of a funny coincidence. And for his outfits, we do have his first one, which is obviously his actual ninja outfit, like Zenitsu, to kind of match them to, although both of them probably won't really work well together. His second outfit is from the Entertainment District. This is Inoku, I think her name was, or his name. I think this is probably one of his best outfits because the character does like a girl, so it will actually kind of be fitting for him. His third outfit is obviously the original one. His fourth outfit is his Academy outfit. Obviously, all the Demon Slayers did get one, so he's got one too. Kind of a cool outfit, I don't mind it. The bats is probably the best part about it. And then for his final outfit, I'm not even too sure what it is myself, actually, but it's basically just him in a nice little outfit that will be kind of like the King of Mountains almost. But yeah, boys, that is all for Inosuke's skills and also outfits. But now let's go over to the third character from the trailer, which is obviously Nezuko. And she is going to make these characters a lot better, but also be a little bit of a buffer towards transformation characters. Alright, so for Nezuko, she is a green human. We'll go through that in a second why. But also on the right, you can see she does have the switch icon, which does mean she is a transforming character. But we'll start with the passive because I know some people are going to be complaining about it already. But let's go through it. So the passive is called Humans Are To Be Protected, and it does work in the sub-slot. The reason why I did that was just because her as a character in the series is always in the backpack for the team. She's always in the box towards Tanjiro, and it makes sense towards the character. She's always in the backline in a way, so I decided her in the sub-slot would be a pathway of doing it, but she's still usable on the front line. But what she does do is increase humans' allies' basic stats by 8% for each ally that takes damage. So the idea behind this one is you're in a backline, at the start of the match, you got 0% basic stats, but every time you get attacked up to 4 times, you're going to get up to 32% basic stats for humans. Quite high, actually. So the reason why it builds up is because it is quite a high boost. 32% basic stats is the highest we have right now in the sub slot, but it does take time to proc. But in addition, she is also part of the demon race. Now, the thing is though, since she is buffing up humans, she is not really going to be the best person on the demon team. So you may not want to use her there, but you can still use her on the demon team and get obviously the encroachment from Esterosa. And to be fair, when you look at her skills, she might be quite useful. Alright, so for her first skill, it is Heal Bash, and as you can see, it is a stun. Now, the reason why I did that is kind of to meme a little bit, because with every collaboration, Netmarble loves giving one character from the collab an actual stun, so I thought, you know what, we might as well do it. But also because, technically speaking, she is obviously a demon still, so I believe she'll be the first demon to have a stun. Once again, could be very helpful towards the SRO team, the demon team. Also, I would imagine with Zenitsu being quite meta, if he is meta, you can also cancel his stuns to keep him out of the match. So this could be quite a good skill. Going on to the second one, yes, it is Infect. Now remember, this is for human teams, so humans at the moment do not have an Infect skill, so I thought this would be a perfect way to do it. But also, at the time when I made this character, there wasn't actually a demon Infect character, so I was kind of killing two birds with one stone. It was Infect for both demons and also humans, but also the reason why I gave it Infect is because the character, her actual self, Exploding Blood, in the series literally stops healing from demons. Daki, for example, she explodes on Daki, and Daki wasn't able to regenerate. So literally, even in the series and canon-wise, it is literally Infect. So yeah, that is her skills, a pretty simple character, but then we get to the juicy part, and let's go towards her actual ultimate. Now, ultimate is basically, she heals 100% of max HP. Now, this does scale up ultimate level, so if it is at 1/6, it'll probably only heal 10%, and also inflicts Flood AoE. Now, to be fair, we haven't gotten a Flood character AoE, and that also heals itself, so this might be one of the most broken ultimates in the game. Obviously, I can't test it, but this will probably be able to wipe the whole team. But the big thing about the ultimate is that she does actually transform. Yes, she does go to her adult form. But the thing with Nezuko is, and the kind of the reason why I did this, was because Nezuko, in a way, doesn't really learn any new moves. Throughout the whole series, and especially against Daki, for example, she keeps doing the same moves she did even as a child, or even at her small form. So technically her going into awakened form, she's still doing the exact same skills. So which is why, even when she does transform, she has the exact same skills. The only difference is, the multiplier has gone up. So she's technically doing a little bit more damage on both her actual stuns, only gone up by 50%, and also her actual effect as well has gone up by 50% too. So once again, not really a crazy transmitted character, but the reason why I did that was because, well, we'll go towards the relic. What she does do is increase all allies' basic stats by 50% for every transmission ally on the battlefield. But also when she does transform, or when an ally transforms, she does remove all debuffs of all allies and also recovers 50% max HP. So remember, she does transform, so she is increasing all allies' basic stats by 50%, even if they're not human. So once again, she actually will work on the actual demon theme. You're only going to get 50% basic stats. So her passive is only going to work towards herself, but she's getting a nice little buff herself too. You're also removing, obviously, debuffs, and you're also recovering HP. A pretty good relic for the allies. Now, remember, you are getting 50% base stats for every transforming ally, and to kind of give you a spoiler, boys, Tanjiro is a transforming character, so you are going to get 30% base stats for having basically her and Nezuko on the team. Plus, she's increasing base stats for humans too, so if you run a full human team with Nezuko and also Tanjiro, it's going to get kind of broken. Alright, so on screen now is her skill sheet, so you can kind of see what the idea was behind her. She kind of dared to make transforming characters a lot better, because as it is right now, transforming characters kind of stuck. So Netmarble really does need to do what I kind of did with Nezuko, and to make it so transforming characters are really, really broken, because they're really, really bad right now. Going over to her actual outfits, you can kind of see hers on screen now. So her first one is kind of her in a scout outfit. Once again, I thought it was kind of cute, so why not? Her second outfit is her in an actual dress, which is kind of nice as well. I kind of like the red, kind of matching her as a character. Her third outfit is obviously her normal outfit. Her fourth outfit is her academy outfit. Once again, all of the actual Demon Slayers do get one. And I do really like the outfit because she does get an actual breadstick with her mouth guard. And in her final outfit, she's got a nice little kimono that she does wear to kind of match Tanjiro's one you'll see later on. So yeah, that is Nezuko. That is all of the characters. She is kind of the little bit of a complicated one because she is transforming, got a lot of skills, a lot of stuff going on. So let me know what you think of her. Once again, she's kind of transforming, but she's not really because she doesn't really do anything different. But I think it makes sense towards the character. And now we have Tanjiro. Tanjiro is obviously, I'd imagine, which most of you lot skip to because he is going to be a fan favorite here. And I think I've done him justice. To be fair, boys, Probably made him a bit too broken, but then again, we have Ultimate, the one Escort in the game, so can it be that bad? But the character is a blue human. Now, bear in mind, if you haven't just skipped to the end here, Nezuko is buffing up transforming characters and also is buffing up humans. So Tanjiro is going to get a massive stat buff by bringing Nezuko with him. And once again, this wasn't really planned, but this character and the whole idea of the character was made months before the actual Shield Hero collab came out with obviously Nafumi. So honestly, Nafumi with Tanjiro and Nezuko in the sub slot might be a bit too broken, but we'll go through it anyway. Alright, so Tanjiro's passive is Hino Kamikaze, as you would imagine. And in this series, Tanjiro, despite him always out of breath, he can kind of switch between both forms at will. And that's basically what he can do here. So his passive is the hero can switch between both Hino Kamikaze and also his water breathing form at will, but it will count as one skill being used. If you played the Crocodile boss event in Grand Cross, you would know already that this already is a mechanic in game. You can switch between both different teams. However, the difference here is it's only obviously for Tanjiro. And I think if they were to add more characters in the game that has this kind of feature, you can only probably limit one transforming character per team. At least that has that transforming mechanic. But while Tanjiro is in water breathing, he is going to get an 80% defense related stat buff because the characters can be very tanky. This is more of his actual tank state, more defensive state. They say in this series that the water breathing is definitely more flexible and can be bent to whatever form he wants to. But then in his actual Hino Kamikaze form, he is going to lose that 80% defense stat buff, but then gain a 30% attack rate stat buff. And since you can only transform once per turn, when you're in Hino Kamikaze, it does mean you're going to be very squishy. And that one turn, before you can change back into your defensive form, you're going to probably likely die, depending on what team you're bringing. And the cool mechanic that I thought of, like how we have the Crocodile boss event, is that you can start in whatever form you want to. So as you can see right now, before the match does start in PvP, you can start in your water breathing if you know you're going to start second and basically get almost one-shotted by the one. But if you know you're mega well and you're always going to start first, then maybe start in Hino Kamikaze, so you don't have to waste a turn to transform and waste a skill, and you can go straight into doing DPS. His first skill, water breathing 10th form constant flux. This is basically just an AoE drain. Not the most flashiest skill, but like I said, the character basically has 4 skills, and also this is more of his actual defensive state. And AoE drain, you can't really go wrong with it. If you ever need a drain or to drain someone who's taunting behind someone, is always a good skill to have. You can't really complain. But then we get to his second skill, and this might be one of the most broken skills in the game that is already in the game. I recently covered it on the channel with Red Matrona Diane, and this is basically now the exact same skill, but a little bit different, but also on a good character. The skill Diane has is actually really, really good, but it's on a really terrible character. So to have this really good skill on a good character, yeah, it's gonna be kind of broken. So what it does do, it inflicts damage, which is different towards Diane. Diane doesn't inflict damage, but this one does, just because you'll see later on, a certain Rengoku does put a shield up, which means Tanjiro needs to break through that shield. But also, I thought it would be kind of weird for him to do water wheel and not do damage. It would look kind of weird in animation-wise, so it can have to do some damage. But what this skill does do is lower defense-related stats by 20% up to 40%, and also attack skill for 2 to 3 turns. Once again, a very, very broken skill. You can imagine you can use the skill, you know, just kind of tax the whole team, switch forms, and then do crazy AoE damage because you're lowering their defense-related stats, so you're doing more crits, and also they can't attack you. So, kind of a broken skill, not gonna lie. Once again, I'm surprised we haven't gotten a skill like this already in the game, because it basically was a skill from day 1 and no characters got to it in basically 3 years, which is kind of insane. But yeah, that is obviously water breathing for Tanjiro. That is only part 1 of his kit. Now we switch over to his actual Hino Kamikaze form. You can see he does change visually because it does need to indicate what actual form he is in, so the person on the other team can know who he's attacking. You know when to attack. If you see this character, you know he's gonna be very squishy. Where if you see his other form, you know he's gonna be very defensive. But his first skill is obviously Hino Kamikaze, Burning Bones, Summer Sun. This is an AoE skill that will do crazy damage, and this will obviously replace his actual constant flux skill. So if you do get a tier 2 merger to drain someone, and you don't really need to drain someone, what you can do is always switch forms, and you'll get to tier 2 of this skill right here. But this skill is very simple. Do notice that there is no skill effect on it. It's basically all basic stats. So someone like Rengoku's shield later on, this will be a very good way to break it. Also, sport, if you get this by Chandler or Tamio Link, it's not going to proc here because the character doesn't have a skill effect. But the skill is obviously 275% attack on all enemies, which is very, very high for AoE skill. But additionally, it does actually give you an extra 20% extra attack per up gauge on your character. So this is literally the exact same as Light Elizabeth AoE skill. skill, which is one of the best AoE skills in the game, and that was based off HP, where this is based off attack. It does sound broken, but then again, boys, you have Ultimate Escanor that can do that with his AoE skill. He can do that with a single target skill, basically, but also Philo, for example, can just nuke the whole team in one turn. I don't think it's that bad, because you probably still have to wait 1 or 2 turns to get this to actually fully do max damage. His second skill, which is Hinokami Kagura Dance, a pretty simple one, it is Detonate. So he is doing more damage per orbs they have, and his AoE skill is doing more damage per orbs he has. So very straightforward character in terms of damage here, but the character is kind of broken. But yeah, that is Tanjiro's skills, quite broken. Now, let's go towards the relic first, because the ultimate is still broken too. The relic, once again, another broken relic, but I think it makes sense towards the character too. And basically, at the start of the ally's turn, he is going to randomly apply opening thread onto one enemy, and for 1 turn, enemies with the open thread debuff will get increased damage by 30% for Tanjiro, only Tanjiro, not the other allies. And the enemies with the opening thread debuff have their ultimate disabled, their ultimate gauge disabled, and also has rank 2 and above skills disabled. So basically, this is a single target Gopher, Festival Gopher AoE debuff, but on a random target every single turn. Once again, very, very broken. If the character wasn't already good enough, this is going to make the character a lot more better. Once again, I think it suits Tanjiro so well, man. Like, I think the open thread debuff makes so much sense. The whole switching between forms makes so much sense. But it only gets even better because we go towards the ultimate. But the ultimate, what it does do is, if you couldn't get already enough buffs here, it's going to apply some breathing, which will ignore all extra stat increase and also damage decrease for 1 turn, and then also inflict damage equal to 540% attack onto all enemies. So basically, to explain how this works is when he does get the sun breathing debuff, any stat that's going to reduce the final damage of the ultimate is basically going to get ignored. So I basically kind of made Zenitsu's relic kind of irrelevant, because anything that's going to reduce the final damage with ultimates, with skill effects, with anything with extra defense, with defense rate stats, anything with damage decrease is going to basically ignore that and deal raw damage as if there were no buffs already in the field. But this is a buff for 1 turn, so you can then follow it up with actual more skills, so his actual AoE skill or a single target detonate is also going to deal a lot more damage. But yeah, boys, that is all of Tanjiro's skills, ultimates, and also relics and passives. Once again, for being a DPS character, being this flexible, I feel like if a character came out who was like this in Grand Cross, he would actually be meta for a very, very long time, because the character has so much stuff and has so much answers to deal with each meta. He'd actually be a very good character. Now, let's go through his actual costumes. Alright, so for his first outfit, he does have his final selection, which obviously he does wear during Season 1. Honestly, I really do like the outfit. The colors look really, really good for him, so this is overall a pretty good outfit for him. His second outfit is more or less his actual normal outfit, but more of a casual streetwear one. It actually does look pretty good. If this was his outfit in game, I actually probably would wear this the most here. His third outfit is obviously his normal Demon Slayer outfit. His actual fourth outfit is also his actual Academy outfit. Once again, every single Demon Slayer got it. But also one thing that I didn't really include for this collaboration that I guess I could have improved on is that in the Demon Slayer actual Hinokami Kagura game, he does actually get a new ultimate animation. So if I really wanted to, or I guess if they wanted to for Grand Cross, if they ever could do this collaboration, if they do get a score outfit, they can actually change the ultimate animation if they do actually wear the outfit, which I thought would be kind of cool as well. And then for his final outfit, he does actually have an outfit that suits Nezuko, which is more or less his Kimono outfit. This is taken from a collaboration where both Nezuko and also Tanjiro got these outfits. I thought they kind of match kind of well together. Yeah, boys, that is Tanjiro. Once again, this is probably the biggest part of the video because he was basically 2 characters in one. But overall, I really like how I designed this character, and let me know what you lot think. Would this character be broken? Would he fit in the game? I think so. With the characters and with the message we have right now, I think the character would be a good addition towards the game. Alright, so Akaza, he is a dark type demon. Now bear in mind, him being a dark type does mean he gets the passive for being a dark type, so you're going to get more damage with your allies, and you're also going to do more damage towards every single type in. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is kind of a funny thing actually, so he is a demon. I should imagine it is Demon Slayer, they are demons, but demons in Demon Slayer, I did some research, are actually classed as Onis, and if you don't know, Rem and Ram in the game are also Onis, which does mean, hypothetically speaking, if we were to get a Demon Slayer collaboration in Grand Cross, it's very possible Akaza and all the other demons actually would be unknown. So that's kind of funny. So him being a demon, he's going to get a massive buff for being with Esterosa and other characters, but he's only got a single target skill and a buff skill. So he may not be the best character to be used with Esterosa, since you kind of want to have a lot of AoE skills, but the character I've kind of made into where he's not really being used with demons. He's being used with more buff characters. Alright, so the passive is Let's Fight Each Other for All Eternity. Basically, I'll read the skill effect first and then explain what it does do. In PvP, if phase one enemy, their affected target can only deal damage towards Akaza and also only attack Akaza. So basically this is literally a reverse 2-in-1 Deldry and also Gallant. Gallant mocks someone, which means they can only attack Gallant for until he dies. Basically, that's basically what obviously Akaza does here. Deldry, if you get charmed by Deldry, you can't deal damage towards her, which means you then miss if you attack allies AoE, for example, where this is kind of the same gimmick here, where you can only deal damage towards Akaza, which means if you have an AoE skill, you will miss on the other characters, but only do damage towards Akaza. So literally it is Gallant and also Deldry put into one, and while it is RNG to get this onto the right person, I still think the character alone is strong enough to where it doesn't really matter if you charm the wrong person. So let's go through his first skill. It's very simple. It is obviously destructive air type. It is just single target amplify. So this character wants to get a lot of buffs. And trust me, this character gets a lot of buffs. Honestly, the passive, you probably don't even need to worry about it. Having an amplify card is honestly one of the best things this character can get because his damage cap is basically unlimited. And then for his second skill, this is Technique Development, Destructive Depth, Compass Needles. Good lord, you have long names here. And what this does do, this is basically a Derriere buff, but rather than getting evade on tier 2 and tier 3, what the character does do instead is actually extort. So you're not evading, but you are going to get extort, which if you don't know, extort is actually a debuff skill, and you also get the more stats from the enemies, and it does apply towards all actual enemies, and this works on a tier 1. So for a tier 1 card, for an Amplify character, you are going to be getting 4 buffs. Yeah, that's insane. Plus, you're extorting the attack and defense. You're going to get a bit more tanky. You're getting a bit more attack as well. It's kind of crazy. And then for his relic, which is Snare, which I think I translated it to Snow in another language. It's just something I did because why not? But also the actual weapon he does actually have is a bracelet because he doesn't actually fight with any weapons. And if you actually play the game, you would know this is actually Goddess Elizabeth's actual relic. And the reason why I picked this one was just because, once again, if it was Akaza, he would have some sort of wristband, I guess, for his actual weapon. And since it's got a snowflake, kind of something similar to what is a compass needle, so I thought it kind of fit the character, so we chose that instead. So what he does do, it is broken. So what he does do is at the start of the ally's turn, copy one random buff from ally, and obviously remember, if you copy the buff, it's going to apply towards the character, and if that buff is for 2 turns, the next turn he's going to copy another buff and have that buff. It really is broken. And this basically opens up so many different team compositions with the character, because you can bring Margaret, you can bring many characters, you can bring Traitor Melee to bring double darkness, and when Traitor Melee uses single target skill to buff up his stats, Akaza is also going to take it. If you want to use this guy in actual demonic beat battles, you can then max out Miguel's passive, max out his passive very easy, because you keep on taking buffs over and over again. But to make it balanced, even though I still think it's kind of broken, it does limit to own allies passives. So for example, if you have Sigurd does actually give you 3 attack buffs, and if it didn't have a limit, it would give 3 to Akaza, and then you'll copy 2 off the actual allies, so you'll get 50% extra attack. It's kind of too much. So you can't use Sigurd. I mean, you can, but you're not going to rob that actual buff. You can rob the extort because he has an extort on him. So there's so much you can do with this character. It's kind of unique, and yeah, it's definitely broken. And then for Akaza's ultimate, we have a bit of a special one here, but what he does do is increase damage dealt by 25% for 2 turns, only to himself, not to his allies. This obviously will scale up the more dupe levels you do get for the character, and also inflict power strike. Once again, I mean, single target power strike at 6 is probably going to kill someone anyway, but he's going to get a nice little buff, which will then give him more damage towards his amplify skills and just do more damage overall. So basically, this character can buff up 5 times by himself if you're not counting his actual passive and relic to give him more buffs towards the character. Literally, his damage, if this was an actual character in game, would be way more than Traitor Melee. This is basically Traitor Melee but on crack. But yeah, that was Akaza's skills. Once again, the skill sheet is now on screen. Once again, I think for the fact that this character is so simple, that doesn't have that many complicated skill effects, it's definitely one of the most broken characters in the game. I think so. And while I don't really show the stats because I haven't designed them, you can imagine for Demon, especially towards Akaza, his actual regeneration rate or actual lifesteal will be quite high, since demons actually naturally have such high recovery. Alright, so for Akaza's outfits, once again, I'm very lucky to even get fired, because as you can imagine, they don't design that many. But thankfully, my friend helped me out here. So his first outfit will be just him without his actual little coat on. Why not, right? His second outfit will be him with the coat on. His third outfit will be more or less the same thing, but as a furry. And it's kind of funny because I can show the full article right now on the screen. it kind of looks like Cusack, but like a furry. My friend made it. It's kind of funny. And the next one, obviously, is kind of like, you can almost say a Muzan outfit. It's him in his actual like Michael Jackson drip. Once again, my friend killed it with this actual design. This is all made by Oreo, my friend who made a lot of the animations throughout this video, so he helped me out a lot with this one. And then the fifth one, literally the only official artwork that wasn't his actual original outfit. This is him in a Santa outfit, kind of fitting the fact this is coming out just before Christmas. But yeah, that's all for Akaza. Once again, a very similar character, but a very broken character at that. And now let's go into his rival, Rengoku. Alright, so Rengoku, he is a light type human, I should imagine, which means he does get the defensive buff of being a light type character. Once again, I think it fits the character so well. So this is the whole design behind this character, and even from the movie, he is a good DPS character, but also protects his team. And that's kind of what he does here. So, alright, so his passive is I will fulfill my duty. This is basically the exact same, or a little bit of a gimmick towards, obviously, Festival Diane's. Festival Diane is obviously 500k damage taken, but from herself, where Rengoku is for his allies. So once again, he's going to max out that passive a lot more easier. And also, rather than Diane, which is 20% damage increase, it's 25, so he's doing more damage. And the difference is Diane also does get, I believe, an extra 50% damage dealt, but since this character has way more buffs, has more stuff going with his relic, I thought it might be a bit too much. And since you can max out his passive definitely a lot more easier than Yan, I thought he definitely didn't need that. So let's go over to his first skill. His first skill is simple. 3 times 7. He's always going to be critting. And it's not the 7 like Raptalia. This is more like the 7 like, obviously, it could not. It's going to be critting. You're not really going to miss a crit. You can imagine this guy's got like 100% crit chance. He's making sure he's critting. And then we have his second skill, which if you realize, this is the exact same as Goddess Elizabeth, but a little bit different because rather than just doing the shield and whatever it normally does, it also provides debuff immunity for 1 turn. And the reason why I did that was because at the time when I was making this character, the meta was literally Rimuru, and Rimuru does remove a buff every single turn. So my idea was when you debuff up with obviously Rengoku, normally if you're diversing a Rimuru, he will remove the buff. But if you have debuff immunity, it would actually remove the debuff immunity first, which means you still have your shield. So you still can keep your team alive. Now, obviously, the fact that it is the exact same shield as Goddess Elizabeth, it does only take damage from basic stats, so very, very hard shield to break. This is going to be really, really good, and obviously, this is based off attack. The character could be a defensive character, could be attack character, depending on, obviously, how the meta turned out. If he ever came out, I guess, talking like he's going to come out, but he's not coming out. But, yeah, that is the actual second skill. And then for his relic, it's a pretty simple one. When the character has a barrier on him, he's going to increase his critical damage by 40%, and also heal allies by 20% of damage dealt. So you can imagine you want to constantly keep on having shields up, and it does say barrier, which does mean if you were to bring another Goddess Elizabeth, you can get a barrier for that. Or the big one, boys, it's obviously King. King will have a barrier. It basically means you're going to get constantly have 40% extra critical damage and constantly keep on healing, plus the passive you get from obviously King's shield too, with the extra damage increase and damage decrease as well. So overall, him and King will be a perfect duo in a way, and the fact he can keep on healing and protecting his team, it means he can keep on maxing that passive very easy and kind of keep his team alive, which is kind of the whole gimmick for the character. His ultimate, I have to give full credit towards obviously Amazing. Amazing made a video a while ago going over how Mayel will play in Grand Cross. When he made that video at the time, I needed an ultimate for Rengoku, and I just thought, wow, this is obvious, this had to be for Rengoku. So I asked him and he let me use it, and it's simple. When he uses the ultimate, he applies 6 ignite effects, which is at 6/6, and if it is at 1/6, it's only like 1 ignite effect. So you kind of want to dupe this ultimate out because every single level is going to give you 1 ignite. But then also apply ruin, so you're going to apply the ignite and also remove it, doing extra damage up to 30% per debuff. And with his passive being a massive damage increase, and even if he's got a barrier on, if he crits with this skill effect or this ultimate, he's going to do extra 4% extra damage. Like, it is insane what this ultimate can do. It is definitely a game winner. But obviously, like I said, if you have a shield on, if you versus another Rengoku, Rengoku can't use his ultimate because he can't apply debuffs because he's got the debuff immunities. But yeah, boys, that is Rengoku. Once again, I think I designed him, I think, pretty well. I think overall, as a character, he's pretty true to himself from the actual series. He's a good damage dealer, as you'd imagine, but also a very, very good support for the team too. On screen now, it's a skill sheet, so you can see what he does doing all the skill cards too. Overall, I think, honestly, for his actual card effects, are probably my favorites. His first one, I kind of made to imitate Barnes' actual wave effects, so you can kind of see some similarities. And his second skill effect, I just fell in love with. It's beautiful. I don't know what I did with it, but I just made it look so good. Maybe because of the blue and the red, it just looks so good together. And for Rengoku's outfits, they are pretty simple. His first one is more of an actual chilled outfit he's got going on there. That was actually a collaboration with, I think, for a fast food restaurant. So you can kind of see him, he's got some fast food in his actual hand there. And the second one is basically him as Indiana Jones. Why not, right? The third one is obviously his normal outfit. The fourth one is him in his actual school outfit, because I do believe he's a teacher in the school Demon Slayer mini things they got going on there. And his final one is him in his drenched out kimono outfit, kind of similar towards obviously Nezuko and also Tanjiro. So yeah, that is Rengoku. We're finally getting towards the end now, but there's still so much to show you lot, so let's go over to Tengen. Alright, so Tengen Izumi, he is a red human character, and he is not really made for the Barn team. Although in the trailer that I made, I did show him being used on the Barn team. I just kind of did that to scare you lot, but he is not based off HP. We'll go through the passive first, because it's kind of the most important thing with all the characters. And yeah, it is musical score technique. So in this series, if you watch the series, spoiler, but I already said that in the start of the intro, he basically takes time to learn the character's skills, and after the musical score technique is done, he's then able to evade and counter the character. So we kind of made that a part of his gimmick here. So after an enemy uses 4 skills in PvP, he is going to increase all of his stats by 50% and also evade for 1 turn, or at least for 1 effect. So this basically means you really want to kill him very, very early on before turn 2, because after your 4 skills, he's going to be able to kind of get a lot of stat buff, going to be able to evade and make it hard to kill him. But obviously with all the human buffs that were provided with this actual collaboration with Nezuko and obviously Rengoku as well, it might be a bit hard to kill him. Alright, so skill 1 is obviously You're Not the One I've been looking for. This is a reference towards obviously Daki, and I would like to think they'll have a sort of unique interaction where he would change the voice line he says if he attacks Gyutaro. Once again, asking too much from Netmarble if this was obviously a thing. But as you can see, although it looks like AoE skill, it's actually single target. I mean, look at Omid Nebezeldra's skill effect. That should be AoE, but it's single target. So if he's able to have full HP when he gets that stat buff, he's going to be doing crazy, crazy damage, which is why Rengoku is probably his best partner, because he can keep him alive with the shield, heal his team as well, make sure he's always top HP so he can do more damage. His second skill is Sound Breathing 5th form String Performance. This is basically just Explode. Now, I have buffed it a little bit because the Explode multiplier is so low. It's like 100%, I think it is, so I made it a little bit higher now. And also as well, it does explode obviously after 2 turns to tier 1, 1 turn on tier 2, exact same how it is now as well. But since the actual animation for the skill effect is him running forward and doing a bunch of explosions, I kind of made sense to give him Explode. But we go towards the relic, this is where the actual skill effect comes into clutch. And I know Explode right now is a really bad skill, but it's only because we don't have a good character with that skill effect. I mean, look at Weak Point AoE. Weak Point AoE was one of the worst skills in the game, but now we got Brunhild and Philo with really good character designs. They're actually one of the best skills in the game now. So when we go towards the relic, as you can see on screen now, it's going to make it a little bit better. So firstly, all the debuffs from the character is now great. Now, this does mean Explode will now be a great debuff. Now, it's up to you lot to decide how this works, but technically speaking, if he does have Tami Link on or even Saru Grace, they do provide debuffs from the character, so it's possible with this relic you could actually get a great debuff of Tamio Link and also great debuffs of Sour Link too, but that's not really the main gimmick of this relic. This basically just means you cannot cleanse it. You're always going to get that explode damage to pop off, and I think this is a good choice to do because at the moment with obviously Ultimate Escanor in the game, he does have debuff immunity when he does die, where if it was a great debuff, it does stay with him, so actually you can probably do enough damage towards him and let the explode kill him next turn. So once again, I think that will work quite well. But there is more to the actual effect, and it is basically disable ultimate moves and also passives for 2 turns on the enemy that used the 4th skill. Now this is going back towards his passive. When an enemy uses 4 skills in PvP, this is combined on the enemy team, you're going to get a massive buff. But whoever that 4th character was that used the skill in that match, they're going to get the passive and also ultimate disable for 2 turns. Massive, massive buff here. This is the first character in the game, if it did come out, to disable passives. And yeah, I mean, that basically just means no matter what, one character in that match is going to get that passive disabled. So it is really up to them to decide what is the most useless passive right now to remove. Otherwise, you're just going to get disabled. And it is a debuff, so it does mean your ultimate and passive will be disabled for 2 turns. And it will be a great debuff too. And this would be quite insane to see, because if you disable, well, let's say Escanor, for example, that means when he dies, he won't be able to actually go into his final flame. If you disable, let's say Tanjiro, for example, Tanjiro can't switch because his passive has been disabled and he's now stuck in that form and he gets no benefits of being in that form. So overall, Tengen, I think his relic and passive does make him a bit unique, although his skills are a bit plain. His agile passives definitely do carry him. And then finally for his ultimate, as you can imagine, it is String Performance, Burst in Bloom. It is just AoE detonate. Why not, right? You disable ultimate moves, so if they are stuck on 5 ultimate gauge, you can just absolutely nuke them with the skill effect. But yeah, that is all for Tengen. His skill sheet is now on screen. Overall, a pretty good character. So once again, these are basically 8 DPS characters to design 8 DPSs that were all unique. I had to kind of whip out a lot of unique stuff here. Tengen's outfits are pretty simple. So his first one is obviously the one where he does wear in the flashbacks during the actual Entertainment District arc. His second one is basically him as a plumber. I'm Don't know where I saw that from. I just took it and I said, why not? His third outfit is obviously his Demon Slayer outfit. His fourth one is actually him in his actual school outfit, because I believe he's like a jock even. He's wearing like casual outfits, but that is based off his actual academy outfit. And his final one is not from the actual Entertainment District arc. I think it may be. I'm not too sure. But it's basically based off that. When he does dress up, obviously Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro, he kind of wears something similar towards this. So it's kind of what it's based on. So yeah, boys, coming to the end of the characters. There's still a lot more to do though, but let's go towards Gyutaro. Gyutaro, upper rank 6, is probably my favorite character out of the bunch here. Once again, he's my favorite character in all of Demon Slayer. Can you guess why? Might be because of the green hair, but I have made him in my perfect way that I can do him, and it's probably one of my favorite characters in all of the game. It just was actually true here, but let's just go through it. So we'll start with the passive, which makes a lot of sense to the character, and that is Poison is now stackable. Yes, Poison is an absolute terrible debuff in the game, but now with Gyutaro, it is now stackable. It is obviously does not work in deathmatch, but it does work in the sub slots, and while you probably wouldn't use him in the sub slot, if he ever came outdated, you can then put him in the sub slot, because why not? But because Poison cards absolutely stink in this game, I decided to make it like he does in the show. Whenever enemies take damage from the hero, they become poison for 2 turns. A very simple passive that I think makes most sense out of every single character in the whole collaboration that I've done so far. I mean, literally, he does that in the actual game too. And I do love the idea behind this, because if you remember, boys, Jim Hopper is a character in the game who does do, obviously, he marks characters to where if you attack with a collab character, you do more damage and poison. So you are going to be able to do poison AoE with, obviously, Gyutaro, do more damage with AoE cards, and provide a lot more poison effects because of Gyutaro and Jim. So unironically, Jim and Gyutaro, I never thought I'd be saying this, but they're like the best duo in the game. It's kind of insane. His first skill is because my name is Gyutaro. This is what he does do when he attacks, obviously, Tengen. And this is fun enough. I did this the first episode he actually aired in the anime. I was like, oh bro, this is sick. I had to make it. But this is Code Destruction. Once again, he is a debuffer. He's going to be doing a lot of debuffs. Once again, going to be very hard to go up against, obviously, Tanjiro, who can cleanse. Rengoku does provide debuff immunity, but he doesn't cleanse. So I guess it doesn't really matter as long as you break the shield. His second skill is Blood Demon Art, rotates and circular slashes, and it is AoE weak point. I did make this character before Philo came out, and Philo arguably does a better job than Gyutaro, but once again, I kind of love how I designed this character, so that is basically the 2 skills he has going on for him. Once again, Jim will be a really good character to go up against, because every single turn, at the start of the turn, in fact, you're always going to get 2 debuffs on. Kyo may be a good character to bring, obviously bring in Gopher, for example, we get too. Starreal Grace as well. There's so much stuff you can do with this character. Weak point AoE is one of my favorite skills in the game, so I have to give it to him. And since the character is not really based around nuking turn 1 like Philo, for example, I decided to make his whole direct to give him more stats so he can survive 1 turn. If he starts first, he may not nuke him in 1 turn, but he'll get a lot of stats so he can probably survive another turn. And that is basically for every poison on the battlefield, you're going to get upwards to 25% all stat increase. Kind of massive towards the character. Gonna be crizzing like crazy, gonna do a lot of damage like crazy. Overall, a pretty good character. Going to his ultimate. This is where Daki comes into play. So I wasn't able to make Daki. Although Daki's not a playable character since, well, we only really get 2 characters for part 2, and it was kind of long to make her. I decided, well, let's make it through his ultimate. Since there are 2 characters in one, this is basically Leduciel's ultimate. Leduciel does AoE damage, and then at 6/6, he takes 8% of damage dealt and puts as a barrier. A bit selfish of him, but it makes sense towards character. But I like to think if this was actually in the game, the barrier effect, because every barrier in the game has special animations, you'd have Daki's belt around him, something similar to what we saw in the first episode where he appeared in. Once again, I thought it would be a cool actual idea, and it would be a bit good way to add Daki into the actual game without actually making her a playable character. But on screen now is Gyutaro's actual skill sheet. You can see what he does do in his skill effects and what he's actually all about. So overall, a pretty decent character. Once again, not a one-turn nuker. You probably do a lot of damage with him. And I like the fact that you can kind of compare, you know, with Jim with him. You might be able to bring Festival Small Wing King with him. Because if you have multiple poisons, if you do release damage, that means you'll release like 5 poison effects, which would be kind of insane. And there is no limit to what poison can do. It could be kind of broken. Obviously, I can't test it. It's not a playable character. But it could kind of get out of hand and kind of crazy. And for his costumes, once again, since the character, once again, was very hidden in the anime because they kind of didn't want to spoil it. And also since, well, he just got shown in anime. There's not that much artwork officially of him. The first one is him as a kid, although it wouldn't be him as a kid, it will be him in the actual outfit. And the second one is obviously him in his outfit. And the third one was the only one I found this year, which was official artwork for Halloween, which is him in a cat outfit. So why not, right? So yeah, boys, that is all for all the characters in my Demon Slayer collaboration. Once again, this is a video probably like an hour long already, but there's still more to show you lot, so let's just go through it. Before we do that, boys, do let me know what your favorite character was. And I mean, if you've been watching this video throughout the whole video, then thank you. But I won't be surprised if a lot of people just jump around because they see their favorite character. So let's go through the next thing. Alright, so going back to our menu, we have 4 boss fights that we need to go through. The first one being Akaza, and what you're seeing right now is basically the skills that I just described a few minutes ago. So you have his single target amplify skill, you have his buff skill that gives him base stats plus the extort ability. And once again, me and my friend Oreo, we did our best here to bring this to life. Literally, it looks as real as possible. This is the closest we're going to get to Akaza being in the game, so hopefully you'll appreciate the effort towards that. Going back, we have final boss Susamaru, and you're probably wondering why I chose her over everyone else. And you got to remember, I started this collaboration before Season 2 actually aired, and at the time she was my favorite demon, so I decided to do her. You can see on screen now we have her phase 2 skills. I didn't do any for phase 1, but you can imagine it was her before she does awaken, so where she's only got 2 arms. Or you could say it could be Yahaba. Yahaba and Susamaru are a duo when he first appeared in the anime, so you can kind of imagine they both could be a final boss there. Now you're wondering why I didn't do Rui. If you saw the trailer, you would have realized that they are actually part of the Tower Trial stage, where you do go through, you can argue, the Spider Forest, and you verse all the Spider Demons, ranking up each time, going up to the final one, which is obviously Rui, where you verse him, so he'll still be a part of the game. Normally, collaborations add actual story cutscenes, and for one of them, you can imagine you're going to be versing Daki, so you can kind of see her right here, and you can see on the left and right, she does have a little worm belt that would be actual boss fights that you can verse as well. And to throw it in there, while it's not really a boss fight, obviously my friend had designed that, didn't really know where to put it in the video, so I'm gonna put it with all the other animations. And that is obviously Gyutaro. You can see on screen now my little edit where I showcase the skills, but to remove it and to show you the raw stuff here, my friend absolutely killed it. Oreo, once again, back with the animations, made this look so good. I can't stress enough, like just going frame by frame and seeing the detail on the hair and the body. Like Gyutaro as the character himself is kind of hard to animate because he's got all the black spots in him. It is a bit ridiculous. So to show the skills that I designed, and he represented it so well in game with the angle, it's so nice. It's so nice. I'm gonna get gassed over it. But once again, I hope you'll appreciate that work my friend put into this, because it is insane. It is insane. But yeah, there we go. That is 4 boss fights. That is actually more than Netmarble actually would do, but you can imagine this will be a 3-part event. So I'd like to think if Netmarble does do 3 events in the future with collaborations, they'll be as stacked as what I've done right here. And finally, to wrap up everything that I've showcased so far, we have some free rewards that I'm going to showcase as well. So firstly is stamps. Once again, Netmarble hasn't done any stamps since the AOT collaboration, which is a shame because my friend Oreo has designed all of these, and he did that in a few days. So Netmarble, I feel like, been a bit lazy. They're not that hard to do. At least for an actual company, they can easily just hire someone to make like a bunch of them and sell it to us either through gems, through actual packs, we spend money, some way to monetize it. But it's kind of a shame we don't get more stamps even in the game entirely. Another feature I wish Grand Cross did was to give outfits that are based on the actual collaboration. So what I did was I hired an artist by the name of 2Hiromi, has made a beautiful artwork of Goddess Elizabeth wearing the actual Nezuko outfit. And it'd be sick to see, like, let's say Tanjiro wearing like Melio's outfit, or obviously Melio's outfit wearing obviously Tanjiro's. Once again, it would be nice to see something unique to do with collaborations, but unfortunately this late into the game, Netmarble has clearly not done that and won't be doing that because they're actually taking away stuff rather than adding more stuff. So little bit of a shame there. And that is it. That is what a Demon Slayer collaboration would look like in Grand Cross. Hope you guys enjoyed the effort and could appreciate the amount of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into this collaboration. Literally, I can't describe what a journey this has been to make this video. It has been a very long time. I will not be doing another one of these because, once again, I want to go back to grinding and growing the channel. Honestly, for the last year, I've really felt like I've just been getting by rather than trying to push videos out, that I want to get back into doing things. I'm making special videos like I've done a few days ago where I did the rise and fall of obviously Ragnarok, and I really want to end this actual series with a bang because literally 2 years ago on this day, December 13th, 2020, I released my first actual collaboration video, which is obviously for Black Clover, and that really pushed the channel out there. That really what made my channel really blow up. So for the 2-year anniversary, not that I planned for this to happen on this date, I would release this video and make it special to kind of wrap up the whole What If series. And yeah, is that it for collaborations for me? Maybe not. I don't want to say no, but at least in terms of actual full-length videos like this, I probably won't be doing this anymore. Maybe in the future I'll do 1 or 2 characters, or let's say for April Fool's, we might do another troll video again, and we could do something special there. But once again, for these long-length videos, they're probably not going to happen anymore. So sorry if I didn't get around to doing your favorite anime. There's so much animes that people ask me to do, but I'm always trying to one-up the last video, and if you watch Jujutsu and want to compare it to this one, it's not on the same level. It's different. But honestly, there's so much more I could say about this video, and maybe I'll save that for the behind the scenes if I decide to do in the future. But massive shout out to my friend Oreo, who has been with me for this long year, just deciding what to do, helped me improve the collaboration. Like, if I released it by myself, it would have been a lot worse. He helped me improve a lot of stuff that I didn't even think I needed to do, like the wallpaper, for example. I wasn't even going to animate that until he told me to do it, and I said, you know what, I could do that. And obviously with his support, I wouldn't be able to bring this collaboration alive with obviously the animations at the start, with obviously Hawk as well, the Akaza, the Gyutaro, who literally looks as raw as possible. He helped me out so much here. And the big one, you guys, literally throughout the last year, people have been asking for it. It gave me a lot of motivation. Seeing people obviously respond so happy towards the JJK one, I had to go all out with the Demon Slayer one as well. So yeah, I've been sat here for about 20 minutes just rambling on, because like I said, there's so much I could say right now, but I think I'm going to end the video because it is already long enough. So boys, thank you for watching Demon Slayer X 70 Sins. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, peace.